Good morning, viewers, and welcome to another episode of the Islamic Finance Weekly, where we discuss key developments in the non-interest market. The World Bank's global financial inclusion data shows that there are more than 1.6 billion unbanked people in the world, while Sub-Saharan Africa has about 350 million unbanked adults, accounting for 17% of the total global financially excluded adults. Financial technology, popularly known as Fintech, encapsulates the transformation of finance through digital services and also enhances the digitization of financial markets across the globe. Today's program will focus on prospects for the growth of the Islamic Fintech industry in Nigeria. The conversation will evaluate global developments in the area of Fintech solutions by Islamic financial institutions and its impact on financial inclusion within key markets like Nigeria. Our guest today is the co-founder of Kanz Invest, Mr. Tope Salahudeen. Good morning, Mr. Salahudeen, and thank you for taking the time to participate in this discourse.
Good morning, Bukola. It's my honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Reports show that in July 2021, Islamic financial technology landscape reached 236 companies. So how would you describe the role of fintech in driving financial inclusion across Nigeria and Africa?
First of all, I would like to explain what fintech is. So as not to sound too academic, I would say, just like the name says, Islamic Fintech. So these are companies or startups that sit in between like a confluence and the synergy between Islam, which is faith, technology, and then finance. So just think of fintechs as those companies that operate in that center. So now this is important because now it would exclude companies that are not Sharia compliant, for instance, or companies that are not dealing in finance, or companies that are not technology enabled or technology driven. So with the definition of what we'll be talking about cleared, I would also like to mention that there is a general misconception that when you talk of Islamic finance or Islamic fintech, it is geared towards something that is charity driven or just something that is a pride for us as Muslims to participate in. But I would like to say to the contrary, Islamic fintech and Islamic finance, beyond being the fact that it is faith-based, then there's a hope of getting rewarded for participating, it is actually more profit-driven. So because I've had people tell me that when they hear of Islamic finance or Islamic fintech, they think of places that you just dump your money and you expect less than stellar returns. But the truth is, it's not true. You could make as good a returns on Islamic fintech or Islamic finance as you will from every other conventional system. So I want us to just have that in mind. Now, to the question about how Islamic fintech can drive this innovation and this financial inclusion, I would say, first of all, the regular Islamic finance institutions, as we're talking about the banks, the takaful institutions, they have a few limitations. And one of the limitations is because they operate in a highly regulated industry, they do not have the ability or the opportunity to innovate as well as the fintech startups can. Similarly, they are because they have these huge overheads of having to site offices everywhere, they are unable to serve some markets that fintechs can, because now fintechs leverage technology, they leverage the digital economy, which makes them able to access people that the regular industries cannot. And because these people, the Islamic fintech or fintechs generally enjoys a slightly friendlier regulation than the regular institutions, it gives them the opportunity, or it gives us the opportunity and the ability to take a more bold step in terms of innovation and delivering or serving markets that are otherwise neglected by the bigger institutions. So I believe if we really want to get to the financial inclusions we aim for, we really need Islamic fintechs, especially given that most of the poor people in Nigeria are Muslims. So now this is a fact that I like to always dish out to people. It's not something that makes me happy, but it's a fact we need to accept that the most poor people in Nigeria are Muslims. And one of the major concerns that these people cite for not being financially included is that the products that are conventional in nature do not cater for their religion, which is why the nation actually needs Islamic Fintech, not just because it is nice sounding new frontier, but because that is the real way that they can get many of those poor indigent people actually included into the financial system.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salahudeen. I would say the slow pace of financial inclusion in Nigeria and Africa are likely to be resolved by broadening and deepening financial technology, which you have explained so far. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So the Islamic Fintech size for 2020, according to the Organization of Islamic Countries, was $49 billion, with no African nation featuring in the top 5 markets. What can markets like Nigeria do to unlock opportunities for investment and achieve scale?
I would want to say most of the challenges that personally, as a co-founder, as a founder in the space, face is the relative low education amongst our people. Now, I'm not talking about people not going to academic institutions. No, I'm talking about in terms of what Islamic finance can really do. So even among so-called Muslims that are educated, you would find out that many people do not really know what Islamic Fintech is. And the thing is, if you don't know something, you are less inclined to trust your money with it. You're less inclined to want to even explore it. So now, I would say the financial literacy amongst Nigerians generally is low, more so amongst Muslims, more so the education about Islamic finance itself is even worse off. So I would say, first of all, we need to have massive scale of education, and I'm thankful that WebTV is doing just that. Thank you for educating our people. That is the first step, I would say. Education is key, because without that, we would just be running around in circles. The second thing I would say is innovations don't just happen out of the blues. Sometimes it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be guided, it needs to be enabled. And that is why, for us to even get those innovations, not to now talk of scale, we need to have tech hubs, especially Islamic fintech hubs, places where young technology enthusiasts or technology experts like myself and other people that I've spoken with, a place that they will feel safe, a place that they know that they can try out any crazy ideas that they have. There need to be those incubators and accelerators to help facilitate and drive this technology. Another thing is, at the moment, the regulations surrounding fintech, let alone Islamic fintech, is still not stable. And the problem with uncertainty is innovation does not thrive well in an area of where there is uncertainty. Personally, I've had some really bold ideas in the past that I need to shelve because I don't know what the regulatory framework at that time would do. And one thing you don't want to do is spend your energy, time, and resources on developing a product, and then a regulation comes and just kills it with a stroke of the pen. So I would say friendly regulation is absolutely necessary. And this is now what friendlier regulatory environment is absolutely key. And then the last thing I would mention in this is, I would say, for Africa to actually could be represented on such a list, there has to be funding, access to funds. And one important thing is, without having these high net worth individuals or angels and venture capital that are willing to stake on these ideas, there is no way these bold ideas will see the light of the day. So I would say access to funding is absolutely key. The reason why countries like Malaysia, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar are represented on that list is because they have sort of a framework that supports this innovation with funding, the required funding. But at the moment, I do not think, or I do not know of any Islamic venture capital in Nigeria. I do not know of any. I've been searching for some myself. I do not know of any at the moment. And because these ideas require a lot of
money. That was what we discussed 2 weeks ago on the weekly program.
So these ideas require a lot of money for them to actually be achieved. And without that access to funding, many of the things or the ideas that we talk about will just remain words of mouth, and it will not see the light of day as it should. And then Nigeria or Africa will not be represented on such list.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salahudeen. That's quite insightful. Islamic fintech ecosystem in Nigeria must strive to become an outward-looking industry. And as you've said, an enabling environment is critical for the growth of Islamic fintechs in Nigeria and Africa. So what is your advice to regulators like SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and Central Bank of Nigeria in providing the required framework?
First of all, I would say the SEC in recent times, I've seen that they did the fintech portal, for instance, and they've shown that they are willing to discuss and dialogue and collaborate with fintech. Now, such kind of dialogue, they've taken the first step, but it needs to be different because the SEC do not see things from the way we founders see the space. So for them to really understand what would help founders like myself and my other colleagues to thrive, there needs to be some level of collaboration and communication. So SEC and CBN are the regulators. However, for them to really understand what they are regulating, there needs to be more dialogue. And I'm glad that the first step has been taken. I hope it's sustained and I hope it's continued. Right now, there are few, I do not know of any regulation that is specifically targeted at Islamic fintech, but I hope that going forward we'll see more of those. That is important. And then another thing I would say is the SEC should show that they are open to innovation, because one of the things that kill innovation is when you feel the regulators are not even ready to listen to you, are not even ready to support whatever crazy ideas you think you have. So that's if SEC, and I'm glad that they've taken the first step, like with the fintech portal that they did. They've shown that they're open to supporting innovation, and that goes a long way to allay the fears of founders like myself. Because as of last year, I was really uncertain about what would happen. I'm not sure SEC would support us, but I'm glad that they've started they've started taking the steps, and with friendlier regulation and open support for the industry, I believe it will go a long way in supporting and nurturing these innovations, CBN and SEC especially. Thank you.
Okay, I would say regulators like SEC and CBN, they can learn from Malaysia. They can learn from Malaysia, absolutely, in order to develop a robust policy framework, enabling environment, and leveraging its instrument to develop its economy.
Absolutely. I absolutely would recommend that. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salahudeen. So let us look at the area of the provision of Islamic fintech hubs. How can Islamic finance institutions in Nigeria and Africa collaborate with government to set up platforms to encourage innovation and product development in the non-interest finance market?
Thank you for this question. I think it's actually a beautiful question because it shows exactly what is needed. It's the kind of questions we need to be asking ourselves if we are really interested in making this industry move forward, and if we are interested in it thriving. I would say, first of all, the Islamic fintech. Now, this is a call to founders like myself and other founders, Islamic fintech founders. I would say, I believe for us to get the kind of regulations that we want, or the friendly regulation that would help us thrive, and other things, we need to have a sort of unified body, something like the Nigerian Islamic Fintech Association or something like that. So that way, we would have an umbrella body that would interact with regulators from, and would have like a body that protects our interest and helps us like that. With that kind of a body, I believe we could actually attract the interest of investors, both locally and internationally. Now, for that to happen, we would need the support of the Islamic financial institutions. They would be critical in driving such such innovation and step forward, because they have the expertise and they have the money and the clout to pull something like this, and they will be needed in achieving something like that. Another thing is there needs to be a place where founders and would be one of founders that want aspiring founders, where they can flex their creativity, come up with crazy ideas, because it's crazy ideas that change the world, that change the landscape of industries. So I would say they could sponsor government and the largest Islamic finance institutions like the banks and the takaful operators. They could finance competitions and innovative competition amongst youth or even university students. Because when you look around the world, many of the ideas or bold ideas that come out to change the world are started by undergraduates and students in the university. So competitions among the youth and university students would actually go a long way. Another thing we could look at is having like a portal or a sandbox. So a sandbox is like a place, like an environment where you can test out ideas and see if it would work and prototype as quickly as you can. So if we have something like that, so before you have to deal with the customers or before you have to take your idea to the market, you can actually test something out and see on that sandbox to see how well your innovation would perform. If there is a portal like that, I believe it will also encourage people to test ideas and see their potential for scale. And another thing is, the Islamic fintech industry is actually a very unique one, because it takes in input from a lot of people, from different people. So there needs to be that synergy between the Islamic finance scholars. We absolutely need them to be on board as well. We need the finance experts. I'm talking of bankers or people with experience in banking, in investment banking and other things. We need those people to be on board as well. And then the tech entrepreneurs like myself and other founders that I know, and the tech keys or the programmers too. There needs to be that synergy, that will to want to make a change amongst all these group of people. So if just one group is trying to push the frontier and the others are not forthcoming, it makes it difficult. And academic professors of Islamic law, Islamic finance, and the likes too would actually be critical in this in pushing the frontier forward. And that would be my recommendation for the Islamic finance institutions, and the government can be there to facilitate all this, to facilitate the direction of all these, and they can also provide support, funding if necessary, to all these to ensure that this industry survives and thrives.
For 8 consecutive years now, Malaysia has been leading in the Global Islamic Economic Index. What lesson can Nigeria and other countries in Africa learn from this?
Oh, absolutely. Malaysia is the icon of Islamic finance. It's they've shown that they are the leaders, and they've shown that they are willing to continue to explore and explore and explore, and they are going really hard on Islamic finance and Islamic fintech. And one of the things that I think they're doing that we are not doing yet, or we are not doing as much of yet, is they focus on education. Because when you look at the big Islamic finance awarding institutions in the world, you find out that most of them are in Malaysia. So they focus a lot on Islamic finance education. And like I said, without the education, you will just keep rolling in circles. The education, and then they do a lot, so they focus on research as well, because these play a big role. Yes, we need entrepreneurs to actually take those research to the market. However, the research and education comes first, and they are doing that on a big scale. They're not relenting, and I believe we can really learn from that. Another thing is they have an angel network that is probably unparalleled in the world of Islamic finance. They have the angel networks and venture capital, and these people play a big role. And the government itself has shown its willingness to actually help push the the industry forward. They provide support, they provide funding, they provide friendly regulation. And these are things that they might look to be insignificant, but they are key in moving the industry forward. And another thing is they need to be amongst ourselves. What I've seen from the Malaysians is they have this genuine interest or desire in uplifting the conditions of Muslims in their country, especially those that are financially excluded. And I want to believe that we need such burning desire as well. We need that desire to want to actually do something to reduce the amount of poverty that is widespread amongst Muslims, especially Muslims in war-ravaged Northeast and Northwest. We need to have that burning desire, and if we don't have that desire, we'll just keep paying lip service to making this fintech revolution, Islamic fintech revolution. We just keep paying lip service to it. Another thing is we have local context. We need to worry about our local context. Malaysia is a perfect example of that. They look at the innovation happening in the UK, in around the world, in the UK, in the US, in Europe, around the world, and then they adapt it to their own local context. Because an idea works in the US doesn't necessarily mean it would work in Nigeria. So we need to look at that. We could borrow ideas from the world, from around the world, from Malaysia itself, from the UAE, and everywhere around the world. However, to really, really get it right, we can't just copy and paste. We need to adapt it to our local context. I was having a discussion with my co-founder, and one of the fears that she has is that the literacy rate in Nigeria is poor. Not talk of financial literacy, and these are our customers, people that cannot even write in their local languages, people that cannot read on screen. What can we do? So now, for you to sell an idea to those people, certainly an idea that borders around long writing or something will not work. We need to look at something like using USSD banking and other things. So local context is key, and I believe whatever we learn from Malaysia, if we want to learn one thing from Malaysia, it is that they look around the world and then they adapt it to their local context. And I believe when we do that, we will not just be achieving the goal that we set. We'll be pushing it way beyond what we ever imagined in terms of Islamic fintech revolution. Thank you.
I think Nigeria and other countries, they need to embrace the opportunities of fintech and develop financial inclusion and financial markets. Thank you very much, Mr. Salahudeen. It was nice speaking with you. Do have a great day.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much, and do have a nice day.
As the impact of increased investment and initiative in fintech takes root, it is important for the regulators in the Nigerian financial market to create the enabling environment for the development of Islamic fintech products that can be leveraged to deepen financial inclusion in unbanked areas of the nation. This also calls for concerted effort amongst the Islamic financial institutions in providing real-time digital services that can achieve inclusive economic growth. And that brings us to the end of today's session. Visit the brochureengine.com website to read more on Islamic finance. Click on WebTV banking channel to watch the Islamic Finance Weekly videos. You can also follow us on our social media platform displaying on the screen. Many thanks for watching. See you next week Friday for another exclusive interview.